Internal Revenue Service IRS tax news. The right to confidentiality is a fundamental right of all taxpayers. IRS Tax Tip 2021-34, March 22nd, 2021. Information a taxpayer gives the IRS won't be shared with outside parties unless allowed by the taxpayer or by law. This is the right to confidentiality. It's one of the 10 rights known collectively as the Taxpayer Bill of Rights. There's a link to the Taxpayer Bill of Rights here. The right to confidentiality. What it means, the IRS won't give any information to a third party without permission from the taxpayer. The agency can't contact third parties such as an employer or bank for information unless they give the taxpayer reasonable notice first. The same confidentiality a taxpayer has with an attorney also applies to tax professionals working with the IRS on the taxpayer's behalf. Basically, they're working kind of in a similar fashion, like basically as kind of like an agent. So if you're talking to someone who's kind of addressing your tax needs with the IRS, acting as your agent, possibly having a power of attorney, you have a similar situation there. The same confidentially, the taxpayers have the right to expect appropriate action will be taken against employees, return preparers, and others who wrongfully use or disclose taxpayer return information. Confidential communications include conversations, messages, documents, and info that fall within the tax professional's authority to practice before the IRS, but it doesn't include tax return preparation. So notice when you're talking about someone who's representing you basically as an agent, typically that's a situation where you have signed like a power of attorney for them to do so, rather than the tax preparation, which is a little bit different. They still typically will sign the tax return, but they're signing and working the tax return basically on your behalf for the tax preparation. If you say got a notice from the IRS that was questioning a position on the tax return and you wanted your tax professional then to address that with the IRS directly and have them possibly take action on it when necessary, then you might give them the power of attorney to act on as an agent on your behalf, in essence, to discuss that information with the IRS and possibly take some action with it. So those two things are a little bit different. Some people might think that the tax preparation itself is the same thing as having a power of attorney. Not quite the same thing, but your tax professional, if they are an attorney or a CPA, or I believe an enrolled agent, can be a representative, but they will typically need a power of attorney, and then they can possibly address the IRS or problems you have with the IRS or questions they have on your behalf, acting in essence as an agent. So back to the information here. So info that are considered private or restricted between the taxpayer and their attorney relate to non-criminal tax matters with the IRS or non-criminal tax cases in the federal court. Tax professionals can't share or use tax information for any reason other than preparing a return. So there's a link to can't share or use tax information here. So when you're providing the information to a taxpayer, you do, of course, want to be careful. Make sure that you are working with a reputable person for the tax preparation. But also note that to be a tax preparer, there's different avenues to qualify for tax preparation, or typically people that prepare taxes, and they do have to have some requirements that they go through oftentimes, such as an attorney or CPA or enrolled agent. And part of that would be, how they're going to handle the documentation, and typically can't share or use tax information for any reason other than the preparation of the tax return. So more information can be found on the Taxpayer Advocate Service and enrolled agents. There's links to those items here. There'll be a link to this in the description.